Ooh, man. Remember to read more comics. It is the basis of all your pop culture. Damn it. This is COFOH Live Undead. I am your host, Daniel Crosier, and I am joined by Todd Jones and Neil Greenaway of Wicked West Comics Expo.
Something on my face.
Todd and Neil, how are you guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
He's I'm okay.
So much energy.
Yeah.
Oh man, you guys must be burnt out putting on this tremendous event.
Yeah, that too. Also okay.
That's gonna be my go-to response for everything.
Yeah, it's good. Great. Guys, tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you guys got involved putting on this amazing event, Wicked West Comic Expo. Todd, can we start with you?
No. No, okay. Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Me. I've well, as you know, Dan, I'm an independent comic publisher. My own series of Wicked Awesome Tales. It's a anthology book that a bunch of other people contribute to, and some other comics.
Todd is both the artist, author, and publisher of the Wicked West Comic Expo and the Wicked Awesome Tales comic series, an anthology sci-fi series which has been running for in excess of 12 issues, a feat unto itself in independent publishing.
Yeah, that is.
He's a big fan.
Yeah.
I don't say.
Neil's a tremendous spokesperson for you, Todd.
He really is. He really is. If I could just have him do all of my talking, that'd be great.
I, on the other hand, started in comics journalism and moved into guest relations in 2017 or 18. And I got into this particular convention last year when it started up.
Yeah. And that's how we met too, is we met at a convention. I think it was at Dink
2016,
actually. But when I first got involved in working in conventions, it was because some friends of mine at Griffin Games and Comics said that a guy had come in there and he wanted to talk to somebody who, was involved in comics, because they were wanting to put on a convention, for CSU. It was like it was a student group. I can't even remember what it's called. The name has changed now. But anyways, we ended up doing one that's called the FOCO Comics and Gaming Festival. But initially, he was just inviting me to the show, and then I was like, "Okay, well, I'm nobody. Why do you want to invite me to the show? I mean, I think that's great. Of course, I'll come. But who are your guests?" And he's like, "Oh, I was actually hoping you could help me with that." And so then I just started reaching out to friends, and I just ended up becoming more and more involved, and basically became his exhibitor coordinator for that show. And then from there, I ended up meeting some guys that were putting on the Fort Collins Comic-Con, and ended up joining their team like the following year. And they're a great bunch of guys too. And, I had laid out a blueprint to do a con over at the ranch, and we had talked about maybe doing FOCO over there at one point, but it's technically not in Fort Collins anymore. And, we didn't want to lose any of those sponsors. So I just decided I was gonna, do another show over there, just at a different time of the year.
Right. Just to clarify, the ranch is on the outskirts of Loveland, Colorado, right?
Yeah, it's in this mythical place known as Centera. At least that's how they, I guess, it's described. But yeah, technically it's Loveland. Budweiser Event Center is right next to it, so it's the best way to tell people how to get there.
Right. Wow, that's awesome. The so it sounds like this has taken place over the last couple of years. You getting into events and launching your own, and then the two of you have met over at Dink, as you said. And to be honest, I thought you guys knew each other from way further back.
I'll tell this because it's a charming story. The way we met at Dink 2016 was I was working for Bleeding Cool, and I was walking around taking pictures just for a walk around the convention article. And I walked up and I asked him if I could take his photograph, and he asked why. And I said, "Don't worry, it's just for my spank bank." At which point he posed. So I took the photo, and we've been friends since.
That's partially true.
No. As I recall it, that's reality.
Yeah.
It's a widely believed fact.
That's awesome. And that's why people came to Dink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably. Sure.
Yeah. Oh man. So that's where you guys initially met, and then you guys just been kind of talking over the last couple of years, or Todd, when you were getting going, did you right away reach out to Neil and it's like, dude, I need help?
Oh yeah, no, right away. Because he had kind of been encouraging me for a while to that, he thought that we should put a show on, and as well as like some other friends. And I don't know, I'd been kind of thinking about it, but I knew that it would also take a lot of time, and then just with work and with FOCO, there was already a kind of a lot on my plate, so I didn't know that I really wanted to take that on. But when he said he would help, I was like, oh, okay, all right, let's give it a shot then.
Yeah. That's cool. The and Neil, you've got your own online outfit, Nerd Team 30, right?
Yeah, Nerd Team 30 is a company that I started in 2015. And at first it started as a sort of a Bleeding Cool offshoot. It's where the articles that Bleeding Cool didn't want to buy showed up.
Okay.
And then it occurred to me, I have a website where I post articles and I'm giving my best material to someone else. That didn't make much sense, so I started publishing all of my own articles. But as an entity, Nerd Team 30 has done an about face, turned left 90 degrees, and changed everything we were about at least 5 times. So
I think you also have like unboxing videos.
Oh yeah, no, at first it was an unboxing video channel because that's what Bleeding Cool didn't want, and then it moved into interviews, and then it moved into nerd news and releases and things like that.
Nice.
Then it became convention support, all sorts of things. These days I publish mostly other people's articles on the site, and my work is more behind the scenes.
Okay, that's cool. The with Wicked West, Todd, how did you come up with the concept? Because to me it's a little bit more kind of horror related. I know last year you had a number of horror related guests that I connected with. Was that the initial driving theme, or is that just kind of a bit of an offshoot?
No, I think that's just an offshoot. Like I didn't really know, honestly, that we had that many horror related guests. I mean, we had some artists that were horror related, but no, I actually just wanted to do something that was more focused on comics and animation. Part of the reason why we ended up with the mascots, because some of my friends have complained that they think that the mascots look a little too kiddie. I love them though. Jason Mentz, actually, I want to give a shout out. He actually designed those mascots. Is that people hear the name Wicked and they automatically assume that like, oh, there's something sinister about that, and it's like, no. Initially, the con was going to be called Wicked Awesome Comic Expo. But a lawyer was telling me that he thought that since there's an awesome con out in, I think it's out in DC, that they could, possibly come after us for the name or something. I don't know if that's really the case, but just to avoid any potential lawsuit, we went with Wicked West.
Okay.
The politics of convention naming has gotten silly in the past few years, so why even toy with it?
Yeah, it has. Well, like Neil, like recently, San Diego Comic Con was starting to go after so many other events, like even
mainly Salt Lake. I think it was mainly Salt Lake because they actually had the hyphen in their name, and they were advertising with big trucks outside of their convention or something like that. Don't quote me. I think that's just what I heard at the time. It would just be a rumor.
So I actually know this one too. The reason it all got in trouble was because Salt Lake decided to, I forget exactly what kind of sports car it was, something fancy, something sharp, and they paid to have one of those vinyl wraps put around it, representing their convention, and then they paid somebody to drive it around San Diego Comic-Con. San Diego took it real personal. Yeah. But in the final come down, in the final judgment, they did mention both Phoenix and Denver Comic-Cons by name, and it got pretty much everyone across the country who was using those two particular words in that order to stop.
Especially with the hyphen.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
I've seen a lot more comic conventions spelled all the way out.
All the way out, yeah. Well, geez, yeah. That is if you're an event, I mean that's spooky enough. But if you're a smaller event too, just trying to get your legs underneath you, that can be pretty problematic and terrifying to even consider. Yeah. The hyphen kills, man.
Yeah,
apparently.
Who knew?
So this is your second year that you guys are going into. What are the dates and who can we expect to see as your featured guests?
Well, the dates are April 15th and 16th. And our guests are, like I said, we're still trying to stick with comics and animation because not that I have a big problem with celebrity guests, but I just feel like you know this from being on the other side of the table, that it's the more celebrity guests there are at a show, the harder it is for the little guys to make anything, because people will come in, they want to get that picture with the celebrity, then they want to get that autograph, and for some guys it's as much as like $80 or something for each. So then by the time they spend all that money, they don't have enough to spend on the creators and other people who basically kind of help to pay for those celebrity guests to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
And we just wanted our convention to be more focused on, comics and animation and celebrating, the people in those industries. So that's, pretty much what we're going for. But our guests this year, we've got Rio and Rob Burton, Tom Cook, Ben Dunn, the Philbach brothers, Ron Fortier is returning, Rafael Maldonado, Bad Hand. Sorry, I'm having problems speaking for some reason for a second. Pat Shand, Honor Vincent, Greg Wiseman. It's.
And I know that we've got a couple of guys that are coming in from the animation field again this year, like Greg Wiseman and Tom Cook. Ben Dunn was actually a really good get for us this year. He's the head of Antarctic Publishing, and they've been around for ages.
Yeah.
And they are also really, really cool about helping unpublished artists and authors get their first story in a diamond listed book.
Yeah.
And I think that's an awesome get for the independent people that will be at our show. It offers slightly more to them in value for their table than just showing up and making what you can from your own product. I like to think we're also offering at least an opportunity to talk to somebody.
Yeah. He is also the creator of Warrior Nun, which they
on Netflix.
The second season on Netflix.
Yep. And Ninja High School and a bunch of other stuff. God, he's had a career already.
That's
if you grew up in the '80s, chances are you've seen a lot of Tom Cook's work in animation. I mean, He-Man and the Master of the Universe, Super Friends, even King of the Hill, with Scooby-Doo, Thundar the Barbarian. I'm trying to think what else.
Thundar, awesome.
Tons of stuff. So and this is the 40th, or is it the 40th or the 40? I think it's the 40th anniversary of Masters of the Universe. So that was part of the reason we brought him in. So we thought it'd be fun to have him come.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, those are all things that I grew up with, and are near and dear to me. Thundar, Masters of the Universe, little Scooby action. Yeah.
Yep. It's all good.
Yep.
Let's hear who else we got. We've got the Philbach brothers coming out, and they did Star Wars graphic novels for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they also drew some Dawn for Joseph Michael Linsner. They've done a bunch of stuff, but recently they decided they were tired of issue-to-issue output, and they were also tired of people telling them no to the stories they wanted to write. So they signed a contract with First Comics.
Oh, cool.
Where they get more or less creative control of what they put out, and it is all in graphic novel form.
Mm-hmm.
So they put out 3 or 4 graphic novels a year, and good Lord, some of them are 300 and 400 pages.
I think
those boys are monsters.
I think one of my favorite title names that they have is the frickin' butt-kicking zombie ants.
Yeah.
That's gold.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Gold. That's gold. Like
they advertise that they're hardcover Shotgun to Sugarland. If you don't enjoy the read, it's heavy enough to use as a weapon. So you double your investment right there.
Carry that in your purse just in case you get mugged, right?
Those, in addition to the books they make, those two are just about as cowboy as any two guys I have ever met. And so it's worth coming out to talk to them just for a little bit of personality because they've got it.
Nice. That's so cool. Yeah, it sounds like you've got an amazing selection of comic book and some animation creatives to being featured and stuff. With the state of the industry, for some reason, so many people are moving away from comics. Which I think is pretty tragic. Do you see any kind of upswing in the industry as a whole?
Yeah. Hard question. So,
sorry.
No, it's okay. I do have an answer. My answer there would be, it depends on the circles you run in, and the sad truth is, these days it's a lot more who you know than what you know. And I guess it probably always was, but with social media and just 100% visibility, it is so much more obvious that there is a crowd that creates comics for the big two.
Right.
And there is a crowd that does independent publishing, and the two rarely cross. So if you can get yourself into a DC or Marvel editor's good graces, sure, you can get good paying work. On the other hand, there are a lot of good books being put out right now through Kickstarter and Indiegogo, all the other platforms that are just amazing books that the big publishers wouldn't even consider because they're not what's hot, they're not trending, they're not speaking to the audience that those two want to speak to. But the audience those books do speak to still exists, and it is worth catering to them.
Yeah.
I think that for a creator, it's a difficult time to exist on comics. Right now, a lot of them are being made on love.
Yeah.
But I think that if you are a consumer, it doesn't matter what you want to consume. Somebody is out there making it for you right now. You just need to look.
Absolutely.
Nice. It seems like so many indie comics are being self-published and financed through crowdfunding. It almost feels like it's the next business model for independent creators, especially ones that even if you're attached to an independent, publisher, you might not necessarily need if you can, kind of cultivate your audience, especially through those social media platforms.
Mhm.
You know, yeah. Based on that, are there any creators and books that you would definitely recommend? Obviously, you've listed a number with your guests.
Well, I will throw out one right now just because I know it's going and it's about halfway through the campaign.
Mm.
This may or may not be released in time. But Johnny Larson is a local Denver guy. He
cool.
does really weird, surrealistic takes on things. And he's got a Kickstarter running right now for, I believe it's Johnny's Warped Images or Images from Johnny's Warped Mind. If you're watching, I'm sorry, Johnny, I don't remember exactly. But it's an amazing book. And his takes on things are just different than anyone else I've ever seen. His surrealism is different than other people's surrealism, and I think it's worth looking into.
Cool.
On a broader scale, one of our guests is Pat Shand, who came up publishing a lot through Zenescope, and then he moved into stuff. He's done stuff for Marvel. He wrote Angel for a while. He wrote Charmed for quite a while. Now he's doing almost exclusively crowdfunded things through his own publisher.
Nice. Isn't this Johnny's, by the way?
Yes.
Late Night Musings.
Late Night Musings, The Art of Johnny Larson. Yeah. If you care to look it up on Kickstarter. But Pat, since he has moved almost entirely into his own Space Between Entertainment as his publisher, it's all through Kickstarter and other crowdfunding places. He's done so well, and his campaigns exceed the goals by so much that he is now starting another company where he will be advising independent publishers on how to run a better Kickstarter, helping them promote, using his own channel to help promote the people who want his help. Yeah. And I think that's also a pretty valuable just asset that he brings to the table. It's worth talking to him about.
Cool. Nice. We got a question that just came in from our own Brett Smith. Do you have panels planned yet for Wicked West Comic Expo?
Those will probably be released next week as we finalize the schedule with everyone, because I've been talking to some of the guests about like what they're willing to do and want to do.
We've got some cool panels coming up, though. There's going to be some interesting stuff.
Yeah, Greg Wiseman's already, I've already talked to him about doing a number of, which, by the way, I want to gush about Greg Wiseman a little bit, because he was like somebody I was really excited about getting to come to the show. For those of you who don't know, he's a creator of Gargoyles.
Yes.
I think he's writing the new Gargoyles series for Dynamite right now as well. Wow. But I mean, the Spectacular Spider-Man show, that was so popular, he was responsible for that. Obviously, all of Spider-Man. I mean, Young Justice, which I think he'll probably have something to say about that at the show. I think he told me he would. We'll see. I should probably be quiet about that. But anyways, I'm super excited about having him. He was actually on the very first panel that I was ever on at Denver Comic Con. I ever told you this story? It was terrifying to me. And you were probably you might be one of the guys responsible, because apparently, like back in the day when it first started, got a table, you automatically agreed to be on a panel if they wanted you on a panel. And so like 15 minutes before the panel started, these guys came by and were like, "Hey, we just wanted to remind you that your panel is in 15 minutes." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you've got the wrong guy." Like, I didn't sign up for a panel. And they're like, "No, you automatically agreed to be on a panel when you got a table at this show." So I was like, "Well, who else is on there?" And they're like, "Mike Barron." I looked down. Mike Barron's table is probably like 2 or 3 tables down for me. And that guy, he leaves early sometimes. And so like the sheet was already pulled over his table. And I was terrified that I was going to be the only person to show up at this panel. So I begged Ron Fortier to come with me to the panel. And we sit down in there, and I'm just thinking, we're like next to this podium. I'm like, okay, Ron, if they don't have a moderator, Ron will probably get up and talk, and I'll just nod at everything he says. I'll just do yes, yeah,
Like this.
yeah, pretty much the whole way through. And then the other guys come in.
Oh my God.
I have no idea looking at them like who they are or anything, but they sit down, and the guy on the very far end was Stephen T. Siegel, and he ended up moderating the panel. And he's like, let's start down there, you know, just reel off like what you've worked on so far. At that point, I'd worked for maybe 3 publishers, one of which was my own. So Ron goes, and I'm like, oh gosh, got to follow that. And then I go, and I'm like, it's over, you know, just relax a little bit. And then Greg Wiseman sitting right next to me, he leans forward. He's like, yeah, I'm Greg Wiseman. You might know me as the creator of Gargoyles. And I think I audibly gasped, like, at that point. Like, I think I asked Jeff, and he was like, yeah, you did. I think you could hear it. But then he's like, just finished wrapping up Young Justice. You know, I think at that point it was like the first season or whatever. And he just starts reeling off all this stuff that he's done. And then, of course, right next to him is Joe Kelly. And it's like all of these guys have worked in TV. I'm just like, what am I doing up here? Like, who thought this would be a good idea? Like, I just picture like these people just sitting around like, who can we mess with? Like, who can we screw with during this show? Yeah, let's get some nobody and just throw them on the panel with these other guys.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome. But you know, like for that to be your first panel experience, what a great way to cut your teeth, you know, just kind of throw you in baptism by fire, you know?
It was very much like that.
Yeah.
I think afterwards, you know, I was having like a little bit of a panic attack. I had to like go in the bathroom and
totally
take
understand.
deep breaths.
Yep.
But,
yeah.
But it was funny because after the panel was over, I was like, man, am I glad that's over. And Wiseman was just like, oh, what, you know, why? What's wrong? Whatever. And I was like, this is the very first panel I've ever done. He's like, oh, I don't think anyone could tell, you know? And Joe Kelly, like, because, you know, everybody's shaking hands and everything at the end of the thing. Joe Kelly is shaking my hand. And at this point, my wife walks up and Joe Kelly's like, did I hear you say this was your first panel? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I really like what you had to say. I thought you did a great job. And my wife's like, see, because she knew I was terrified about the whole thing. And I'm saying that as I'm shaking his hand, Neil, shake my hand. As I'm shaking his hand, I'm like, he's full of shit, honey. And Joe Kelly just kind of looks at me weird for a second. And I was like, no offense. You're a great guy. And then, like, after I left there, I was like, oh my God, why did I say that? Oh.
That's awesome. What a great story. I mean, you know, it's embarrassing, but still, it's, you know, it's definitely a teaching moment, right? You know, after that, you've done more panels and talks. I mean, it's gotten easier, right?
Yeah. I mean, generally, you know, I took theater in high school for 4 years to try to deal with anxiety, like that I, you know, felt and everything. And I thought I had gotten past all this stuff, but apparently it's one of those things that you kind of have to keep with it because, like, I seriously, it was like stage fright, like sitting up there, you know, and I think all writers probably experience this too, like imposter syndrome. Yeah. Ron Fortier actually told me that every time he puts out a new book, he's like, I wonder if this is going to be the time to discover I'm a hack.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's you know, imposter syndrome is definitely something I deal with, you know, that I have, you know, some anxiety and depression issues, and you know, but it's not just like guys like us. You know, you hear you read those stories about like Paul McCartney from the Beatles. He still deals with that. He's pushing 80, you know, and he's had an amazingly storied career. So it's something that I think if you're human, you probably deal with it.
Yeah, I think all creatives, like anybody who works in the type of field in general, it seems like it kind of goes hand in hand, that type of, you know, torture.
that might be a great panel topic, is something on the anxieties of creating.
I look forward to watching someone else do that panel.
Yeah. Hey, that's fine. Not right. Yeah, you don't have to throw yourself to that one. You've already cut your teeth, so
yeah.
No, but that's a great story. Neil, you've gone to just copious amounts of other events, and you're producing your own with Todd now. Do you have any con stories that just really stand out for you?
Oh, con stories. Yeah. I've got an okay one, which really relates more to me as a journalist than it did to the convention itself, but it's still a funny story. So I got sent to Wizard World Des Moines the first year that it ran.
Okay.
They asked if I would attend, so my wife and I went. And as a part of that, being invited as a media guest, they let us interview Kevin Sorbo before the convention started.
Oh dear.
This is one of those things where I always come off as an asshole in Kevin Sorbo conversations. He was an angel to me. He was so polite. He recognized my wife and spoke to her as if she was in the room, which is rare. He was conversational. He cared about what we had to say.
Cool.
And he checks in on me still. I occasionally get emails from him, and I never send him anything. But I occasionally still get an email just like, hey, man, I hope you guys are doing well. And it shocks me because a good portion of our interview back and forth, God Is Not Dead had just come out. That was why he was at the convention, to promote that.
Oh, okay.
I could not get off of Nietzsche's God Is Dead. And I don't know why it was like verbal diarrhea. I could not stop bringing it up. It's all we talked about.
Wow.
And even in that antagonistic a setting, he was polite and still chooses to remember me. I know he opens his mouth too much on Twitter, and I'll agree he says some horrible things, but he was nothing but great for me.
Nice. Oh, yeah. You do have like these perceptions of these guests and celebrities sometimes, and they're being on social media too. They can just spew out all kinds of stuff, but it's really kind of heartening when when you meet these individuals and it's contrary to that, and and I always kind of feel good when I'm proven wrong on stuff like that.
It even goes just a little bit deeper than that, because we were in a line of they had a very much like Between the Ferns setup going on. There was a drape and two chairs, and then they were just exchanging the media people out of the chair.
Yeah.
And the woman before me was from a local news outlet, and they had an open bar, which she had been generously attending to. And so by the time she got to her interview, she was just throwing herself on him. That's all the interview was.
Ooh.
Her time ran out. He excused himself, made her leave, and invited me and my wife in. And I was like, man, if you can turn down a drunk blonde who is just ready to go right now for this,
that's awesome. Wow. What a great story. Having gone through those type of experiences, have you been able to apply any of that to like Wicked West?
I almost hate to say it, but yeah, because my knowledge of the convention circuit and the people in it is fairly grassroots. As I said, I came up in journalism, so I met people when they were just starting out. I met the people who wanted to talk to me, which is generically newcomers, years ago. And I've seen these people come up into other jobs and become famous and become artists of note. But I know all the secrets, Dan. I know all the dirty little body hiding secrets. Yes. And it does. It comes into play. I will be considering a guest, and I'll think like, you know what? I saw how he treated staff behind the scenes. So I don't want him in my show.
Right.
Or, you know, this person might not be exceedingly famous, but they are amazing at dealing with the customer. Let's get them in here.
Nice.
So yeah, it feeds heavily into what we're doing.
Yeah, there's that saying like never beat your heroes, and I think sometimes that can be true. Like I've definitely met some people that I think were a little full of themselves.
Yeah.
A little too much. But then I've met others that are just amazing. Just the kindest individuals. Like you're really taken aback by, like Victor Cook, for instance. He's a producer and he's worked on tons of stuff. He was a guest for Wicked West last year, and I'd had him out previously for Fort Collins Comic-Con. During the pandemic, he just called me out of the blue just to check in on me. Just wanted to see how I was doing. Just very, very nice, sweet man. Just, so you meet people like that, and then, like Kevin, like his experience with Kevin Sorbo, like you meet these people and you realize they're just like everybody else. There are people that are, dicks. But I think for the most part, it's generally a good field. Like most of the creatives I've met are pretty good people.
That's good. That's always reassuring. It's also incredibly endearing to like really build those relationships, because you want attendees to have like a similar experience that you have. You find these talents that are amazing, and you want to kind of champion under your umbrella, and you just hope that they can connect with your audience that's coming through the door.
Yeah, I won't name names, but I mean I've had people that have reached out that it's almost like they expect, because we're friends, that I should just be able to give them a table and
right here. Come on. Damn it.
No, you're not one of those people. We do a table swap with you guys. But and I would love to, but then if I gave a table to like every one of those friends, then I wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't be able to have the show. And I mean, and when I can, I like to be able to do stuff like that, but it's, things are, unfortunately, they don't work that way. You have to pay for the space and, cover the show. But I mean, I had one person that actually, I mean, because there've been a couple people, and for the most part, people are generally nice when you tell them like, no, we can't. But I did have one person get kind of nasty with me about not having them, like not giving them a table. And so it's made me like never want to, have them a show, honestly. But then you have other people who will want to fly out on their own dime to be part of it. And I don't get that. I'm just like, no, of course we need to pay for you to come out. It's but yeah, I'd say for every bad experience, there's 10 positive ones.
That's good. That's good. You can't always count on everything, being a positive experience, but at the same time too, they can be teachable moments. And hopefully the kung fu gets stronger later.
I've been and that's another lesson that just past experience feeds into this. I've been at conventions where people dealt with exhibitors or vendors or guests that they just did not like and did not enjoy having in their building, and it was always a problem for them during the convention. I don't want to be horrible, but if we end up grading on each other like that, I'm probably going to choose just not to work with you again.
Right.
For the overall enjoyment of everyone at the show.
Right.
So in that cultivating sense, it does become kind of like a family, because the people around you are the encouraging ones, are the ones promoting growth. They're good people.
Yeah, that's uh, that is pretty awesome about these type of events is, you are building, kind of not only a community, but, hopefully a family. And so that's always the one thing I was thinking about too, like when I first met Neil, when I first met you, like you were one of the big supporters. You always came to my table, was always buying stuff, and always made sure to go to the next guy and the next guy, and you always left with something. Yeah. And then we would see your treasure trove out there on social media of like all the new offerings that you purchased from all these different creators. So that's something I always appreciated with you, Neil. And then Todd, you were always very supportive of everybody and wanting to involve people in whatever you were doing as well. Whether it was FOCO or Wicked West. So that's something that I'll always be grateful as a creator myself.
Yeah, this guy he'll tell you that he is not a nice guy. He does not believe he's a nice guy at all. But almost everyone that we know just raves about him, like how great he is, like everything done. Done, always buys stuff from him. He owns everything that I've ever done.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. I think he is one of these people who like encouraged me to draw more and sell drawings at the show too, which I still think is ridiculous. But
I have a portfolio full of Todd's work.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Elise and I have been to your house once, and we've seen like your collection. It's pretty awe-inspiring. I mean, you literally have a library of things that are no longer attainable,
Yeah.
And I know you've got a collection of mine and a lot of stuff that I never wanted, but but yeah, I do think
that Wolverine is gorgeous and everyone loves him, so
God, yeah, I
show it to everyone, Dan.
I have a Batman that Dan did.
Yeah,
it was like for sale, I think, at the Dink auction or something like that.
Was it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, I kind of emptied out for that show. I emptied out my collection of stuff that I completely forgot about, and the only reason I remember is because Neil has it.
Yeah, I like there's a colored pencil shaded zombie missing his lower jaw, so the tongue is just kind of.
I remember that. Yeah,
that's a really cool one too.
Thanks.
But to speak a little bit to going around the convention, I don't mean to brag at all, but there's been a lot of talk lately just in the world about privilege and position in the world. It came to my attention that I was walking into a convention at a fairly privileged point, having a stack of money. Like I would save all year so that when I went to a convention, I had a lot. And most folks don't do that. And most folks can't attend to everybody. So the first couple of years that I went to conventions, I would find one person and blow the lot on a name, get somebody famous to do me a really nice commission.
Right.
But then as I walked around meeting people, doing journalism, I came to understand that there are smaller people who are there on their own dime that are just trying to get by. And their work is just as good at an eighth of the cost.
Yeah.
And it is more worth my time as a collector and an investor to walk around and buy one piece of original art from everybody here who's not famous yet than it is to go to the guy who's already famous.
Yeah.
Because if I get 40 pieces from different people, there's a good chance 7 or 8 of them are going to make it somehow.
Yeah.
And then I'll early piece of original art.
Yeah.
It's an interesting strategy.
That's true. And I was going to say, I also think it's important too, like to buy from those people, because the guests, while fantastic, somebody's paid for them to be there. Likely their hotel room is taken care of. Their table is free. Whereas these other people really have to kind of take a chance on themselves. They have to get a hotel room. They have to pay for that table. And the bigger these cons get too, the more expensive the tables get.
Right.
And, it becomes really costly. So you're just trying to, a lot of times I think, break even with some of the larger shows. It really is, I hate to say it, with like the really big shows, a lot of times it's really just about exposure. Because by the time you factor in the cost for the table, the travel, the hotel, it's you've sunk a lot of money into it. And so you might not get it back. It might just be about meeting people while you're there.
Right. Just the opportunity and the network. I've been there as a creator too, and it's not something I'd really want to go back to. And I do like these smaller events because they're more intimate. You can discover more. There's less noise. I think the last time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, I went as a fan. I lasted 2 hours, man. That's it. I was so overwhelmed. I just wanted to go home right after that. I realized I don't do too well as a fan.
It's hard if you want to get in on those panels. I think at San Diego, like we went this last year, a group of us, and just we walked around and talked to some friends, and I think I went to all of 3 panels that were all by my friend Josh Werner. I think that, like, we just went to those.
I've never attended a panel in San Diego.
Yeah,
not worth my time.
It's just
nice.
I mean, for the larger ones, they have lines, wait, like outside. Right. People are still waiting in it for that Hall H. Trying to get in that Hall H.
Yeah.
But actually, I would like to bounce back just for a second to exhibitors. And the guys that pay for the tables, one thing that we wanted to make different in our convention is a lot of the guys that pay for tables never even see their name on the website. The shows do very little to promote the local common artist that is basically tent poling their show. And that was one thing we wanted to be different. So every exhibitor, regardless of what they're doing, gets a unique URL slug on our website. Everybody gets their own page to demonstrate what they're doing, write their own bio, have their art on display, so that before the convention, people have a chance to peruse the website and say, hey, I see that Stanley Kaiju Bunny stuff looks pretty awesome. We should probably stop by that guy's table, as an example.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But that's a good point, because too many exhibitors get lost in the noise or get lost in the shuffle, and that can be incredibly infuriating. When you as an exhibitor or as a creator have made this investment to go and try and compete and sell your wares. We just got. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say real quick because. We mentioned the exhibitors and we mentioned the guests, but I also want to talk a little bit about the Fantastic Encounters area that we have at our show, because it's something that I'm really excited about personally, because I have a lot of friends that are prop makers.
Cool.
And if you came last year, then you probably saw the Jabba's Palace set that was over there that Furby Creations brought. There's Lucy the Velociraptor that Sam Marcus brings, like this whole Jurassic Park setup, and then USS Tiburon, Star Trek fan group is there.
There's a lot of really cool cosplay photography opportunities there.
Yeah, it's just a place where we wanted people to be able to go in and take pictures, because one of the things I loved about Denver Comic-Con the first couple of years, and this last year they kind of brought it back too, is they had more like photo op areas where you could go get your picture taken with like a car, like the car from the DeLorean from Back to the Future, or what's another one I've seen?
Ghostbusters car.
Which we're going to have Ghostbusters at our convention too. We might even have like a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. We just have to see how if we're going to be able to get him into the building. He might be. But,
bring it in through the hangar doors, right? Come on.
He might be too big for that.
Might have to put him in sideways. Just put him in sideways. Lay him on his back, and just slide him in. Just lay there the whole weekend, buddy. Don't get up.
Yeah, I think he might be like 21 feet tall or something like that. He might be up there. I don't know.
As with all difficult problems, it's a matter of lubrication
and
manipulation.
And then,
that's right.
So
he is
we
our
have,
marshmallow.
We also have a gaming area that people, I think, missed last year, mainly because we didn't have programs last year. We're running everything off the phone. We were thinking we were being environmentally friendly and people would use their phone for the map. But unfortunately, they still missed it. And I think part of it was the placement of tables we had for people to eat from the cafe. But over in the other area, like past the Fantastic Encounters and past the panel rooms, there is a gaming arena where Griffin Games and Comics and Olympus Games and Comics from Cheyenne are going to be doing two Warhammer events. Like I guess they're like tournaments or whatever. Honestly, I'm not really that into the tabletop gaming, but they're going to be doing those there over the course of the weekend. And if you like gaming, we don't have a lot. I mean, as far as tabletop gaming, but the next weekend after us is the Cheyenne Gaming Convention. I want to give those guys a plug too, because they put on like a fantastic show and they work really hard. Unfortunately, we're like the weekend right before them, and it was something that couldn't be helped. It was either this weekend or Easter weekend, and we didn't want to do it on the weekend. So
Right. So we just got a few more minutes, guys, but real quick, what else do you want to plug about Wicked West? And then, where can you get tickets?
Well, tickets can be had at the Wicked West Comic Expo site, which is, I know it's a long one. It's wickedwestcomicexpo.com. But we just posted up the ticket sales, so you can get that.
Yeah,
there.
you can get it from the Facebook site too. There's a link.
Yeah.
That should have gone live at 10 o'clock this morning, so people can buy those tickets right now.
Yeah.
And cool.
Realistically, we would just want people to know that we're out there, and we've got some good stuff.
Oh God, I kind of forget this. Cap for Kids. It's a fantastic charity. As you know, like they are actually going to be running a cosplay contest for us for 2 days. So on both days there will be a contest, and they have a bunch of prizes for everyone.
They always come up with really cool stuff to give away in their contests.
And if you don't know who Cap for Kids are, please just look them up on Facebook, as they
visit
fantastic.
Hospitals as superheroes, and are generally really cool folks.
And help sponsor kids too that whose families are struggling.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. That's a great cause to get behind. That's awesome. So down below, for everybody that's watching, we do have the website where you can go get tickets, scrolling at the bottom. So make sure you get a screen grab of that. And after this broadcast, go buy your tickets. Darn it.
Totally. Go buy your tickets.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you say?
And more importantly too, go buy your tickets. Go support independent, creatives, independent artists, people that are making all these, great stories and comics and animation that enrich your lives and make life worth living.
Yeah,
it's the basis for the next decade's movies.
Let me a shout out to our sponsors, Old Stash Publishing. The guy behind that, Drew Bankston, he's a writer. He's got a book coming out in September. But yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He's one of our sponsors. Nerd Team 30, of course, is one of our sponsors. And Games Ahoy is one of our sponsors. And they're actually bringing at least four old school arcade machines there for people to play on. Those are free play. So you don't have to put any money in. So pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Neil, Todd, thanks so much for being so generous with your time and coming on and talking a little bit more about your event and letting us learn more about you and what you guys have planned.
Well, thanks for giving us this opportunity to talk about it.
What do you say?
And Todd, thanks for bringing Neil on to be your spokesperson.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you, Neil.
Mm-hmm. Wicked Awesome Tales.
And Love you, Dan. Just, you know, we had done this meeting in person. You know,
there would have been more groping,
hugging. Yeah.
Oh, hugging.
Yeah, that's why this is online, because I am allergic to human touch. I'm the boy in the bubble.
That's too bad. I have a lot of touch to give.
Stick around for a little bit while we sign off. But again, yeah, thanks guys for being on here. And
inviting us.
Yeah, to everybody that tuned in, thanks so much, guys. Make sure to go to wickedwestcomicexpo.com. Get your tickets right away. They're going to go fast. It's an amazing event. You bring the family. If you don't have a family, rent one.
Kids 12 and under get in free.
Excellent. Oh, that's awesome. And then for our sponsors, special thanks to Mutiny Information Cafe. If you're going to start a revolution, make sure you're caffeinated. And to Hellfire Entertainment, thanks for rebroadcasting us on your social media, Groovy TV, and of course to Alien Donut Films, to Bill over there, and Angela Joseph Productions. Thanks for putting up with my shenanigans, and of course my producers Lily Fisher, Amanda Armstrong, and Stefan Santa Cruz. And to everybody out there, thanks so much for tuning in. Be good, be kind, help each other out during tough times, and stay spooky. Have